Formula One and Scuderia Ferrari have an agreement that has been discussed for many years, and it seems something will change in the near future. The top category of motorsport is an extremely complex sport due to the heterogeneity of its stakeholders and all the parties involved, such as teams, suppliers, promoters, media, shareholders, international institutions, and the economic power they embody. On more than one occasion, the governance of the category and its future have been a subject of friction among the parties involved. The most notorious fracture occurred in the 1980s, following the conflict between FOCA, the Association of F1 Constructors represented by Bernie Ecclestone, and FISA, the International Federation of Motorsports, led by Jean-Marie Balestre. In January 1981, Enzo Ferrari received representatives of FISA and FOCA in Maranello to find common ground. 2 months later, at the Paris headquarters of FISA, Place de la Concorde, the eponymous agreement was signed. This pact ratified the sharing of power and the definition of governance for the category. In summary, FISA retained responsibility for the executive missions of Formula One, leaving FOCA under Bernie Ecclestone responsible for negotiations with promoters and the commercialization of television rights. The profits made would then be distributed for the benefit of the teams. Enzo Ferrari seized the opportunity to benefit, managing to obtain 2 Grand Prix races in Italy, namely Imola and Monza. Since 1981, 8 versions of the Concord Agreement have been signed. The last one was in 2020, valid until 2025. The current regulatory framework was designed to ensure economic stability for the 10 teams, some of which were clearly struggling due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The teams received a 50% share of the Formula One profits, then a progressively smaller share relative to the turnover of the teams. One of the most controversial aspects, painfully opposed by the British teams, is the bonus granted to Scuderia Ferrari, as the team that has participated in all editions of the top category of motorsport. It is understood that at current revenue levels, in excess of $3 billion last year, F1 teams receive a 45% share. One of the more intriguing aspects within the Concorde Agreement has been an extra historic payment that Ferrari receives because of its long-term significance to the series. It is the only team to have competed in every season since the World Championship began, a revenue independent of the position achieved in the Formula One Constructors' Championship, which in fact means that the Maranello team almost always receives an amount equal to or greater than the World Champion team. Under the current Concorde Agreement, the Maranello team receives at least 5% of Formula One's total revenue from the Formula One management, provided the revenue does not exceed $1.1 billion. Through a sliding scale mechanism, if Formula One's revenue exceeds $1.1 billion, Ferrari receives an incremental percentage up to a maximum threshold of 10% if Formula One management's revenue exceeds $1.6 billion. However, there is believed to be an escalator formula in place that means if the prize pot gets bigger, then Ferrari gets a greater share of each incremental step up. Sources have revealed that the proposal in the next Concorde Agreement is for Ferrari's bonus payment to be capped at 5%, no matter what the prize pool level is. This means Ferrari will still get a sizable chunk of Formula One's incomes, but it will lose the escalator bonus it has enjoyed most recently. Discussions on the new Concorde Agreement have been ongoing for some time now, and some points will certainly be subject to changes, including the economic bonus granted to the Maranello team. Scuderia Ferrari team principal Frédéric Vasseur sidestepped the topic when asked by the journalist directly during the Imola race weekend in Italy, but it seems certain that a more restrictive limit will be set on the percentage of revenue guaranteed to the Maranello team. Probably that 5% as a maximum cap regardless of the revenue generated by the Formula One management. Another contentious issue will be the maximum number of competitors allowed in the series. The teams in Liberty Media want to block the possibility of new entries by deliberating Formula One as a category with a limited number of competitors. This intent will have to contend with the recent actions taken by the United States Congress in support of Andretti and General Motors' widely discussed candidacy. On the eve of the Miami Grand Prix weekend, a group of bipartisan members of Congress asked the owners of Formula One, namely Liberty Media, for clear answers regarding the decision to exclude the American team as the 11th team in the category. In a letter to the president and chief executive officer of Liberty Media, the prominent American businessman Gregory Maffei, the 12 United States representatives expressed their concerns. The desire to transform the Concorde Agreement from an armistice among Formula One stakeholders into a shield against external threats could become a very slippery slope for the teams and the American ownership. Teams have therefore been in discussions with Formula One owners Liberty Media over the specific terms of the new Concorde Agreement that is due to come into force from the 2026 championship. The document defines how Formula One is run, with one agreement relating to the regulatory framework of Grand Prix racing and another outlining the commercial terms. Draft outline terms were recently sent to teams as the next step of this progress, ahead of what are likely to be intense discussions to reach an agreement that all parties are satisfied with. And it is understood that one point of those terms is for Ferrari to retain its bonus payment, but at a reduced level. Some of Ferrari's rivals feel that the time for it to receive a unique bonus has passed, while others acknowledge that there is valid reasoning for its special treatment. Last year, Williams team boss James Vowles noted that the Maranello team brings something special to the sport and emphasized that if you ask the average person about Formula One, Ferrari is a name that stands out. He pointed out that Ferrari adds a certain level of heritage and recognition to the sport, which justifies its special status. The news follows optimistic remarks from Mercedes boss Toto Wolff and Red Bull team principal Christian Horner about the ongoing negotiations for the new Concorde Agreement. At the recent Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix in Italy, Toto Wolff shared with the Italian and international media that the basic terms for the next 5-year term of Formula One have been outlined. He noted that while there are positive aspects and certain pros and cons to discuss, the fundamental goal for everyone is to grow the sport, which would benefit both the teams and the sport overall. With Formula One's popularity surging since Liberty's takeover in 2017, Christian Horner highlighted the importance of evolution rather than drastic changes. He mentioned that, as usual, teams and the promoter will each want more, but the current system works well. The Red Bull team principal believes that while the agreement can be fine-tuned as the sport evolves, the fundamental structure is sound. He suggested that if something isn't broken, there is no need to fix it. During a recent earnings call, former Ferrari boss and current Formula One chief executive officer Stefano Domenicali emphasized that his top priority was to establish a Concorde Agreement that ensures long-term stability and closely aligns with the previous one. He mentioned that discussions with the teams are ongoing, with the main goal being to maintain stability. Stefano Domenicali indicated that while they cannot disclose details at this moment, they will share information as soon as possible. He expressed confidence in the current discussions with the teams and other relevant parties to finalize an agreement that will strengthen the sport's future over the long term. Teams have received the draft terms of the Concorde Agreement from Formula One, but the contents are confidential, and they are hesitant to comment on their opinions at this stage.